Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Cyrus, and welcome to the Darkness Podcast. Today we've got a special episode. As always, we're going to be featuring a person from the Darkness talking about their experiences and the stuff that they can do to help improve your streaming experience, but not only that, your community, which is actually what we're focusing on today. And I want them to go ahead and introduce themselves. And Afterburn85, go ahead and take it away. Tell us who you are, your socials, what's your position in the Darkness. Just tell us about you.
Hey everybody, it's Afterburn85 here. I was the former community manager for the Darkness, part that I had a lot of pride in. I'm also a streamer on twitch.tv/Afterburn85 and also have a page on Facebook at Afterburn85 Gaming. Yeah, I've just been a community member now since shortly after it started and just been along for the ride and having a lot of fun. When Sai said that he wanted to discuss with you about having the how to make the best you can of your community, I was all on board for doing anything I can to help because that's what we do here in the Darkness is help everybody out.
Awesome. And just as a little bit of backstory, Afterburn85 and I actually know each other outside of our kind of a social media circle. We actually know each other personally, and this becomes a byproduct of our friendship that's happened over the years and gaming together and just hanging out. And so when it comes down to the chemistry between the two of us, it's been fantastic. So selecting him as previous community leader was absolutely an honor. And again, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate that.
And I'm glad I was a it was a like I said, it was a great moment of great pride for me. So
Awesome. So I want to jump straight in because we've got a few topics that I want to cover today. And we want to jump into just first of all, as a community, when we have this discussion of starting a Discord and getting to the situation where you're trying to build the growth, have people that are there for you, not only for your fan base, but also to kind of assist you in a way, we think of a program like Discord, something where we can get a lot of people in, keep people up to date, get them chatting about what's happening, well, not only with the content that we're creating, but maybe the content that we could be creating. So I want to talk about Discord itself. What are the uses? Why would we use Discord from different perspectives? If you'll just go ahead and share, what is Discord?
so Discord for all of the gamers and the people who are sociable on the internet previous 2000, a big thing that we did to look for advice on games to build friendships and social relationships on the internet were mainly done through message boards, things like game FAQs, Yahoo chat boards, things like that. Discord is kind of the natural evolution of that. Discord is a more live chat setting. It is basically still a message board, but it also supports voice. It supports sharing pictures. It's a lot like social media such as Facebook or Twitter, but it's designed to hold more of a really larger amount of data shared right in real time and can be used from everything from personal to do such as calls to keep up with people who are across the country or to across another nation, all the way to just keeping a community together on track in a any kind of a setting that you would look for that. So it's just it's a message board that has evolved into the new age.
Right. And so when it comes to from our perspective, in our realm of what we're doing right now, we're talking about from the gamer's perspective, a streamer's perspective, maybe a content creator's perspective. We're talking about as a personal situation, being able to join, be a part of a community, be able to relate to those people who we might see as a role model or someone that we want to connect with. But there's also the professional side of it, which is the other side where we could be using it as a way for us to connect with our community at a deeper level, at a real time communication level, other than just short form content like YouTube or long form content like Twitch or Facebook gaming, etc. So, as you being a person who has been a leader in that kind of a professional realm and as a personal realm, do you see Discord as a viable option as someone who is in this community to be able to use that to connect?
Of course. For the professional level, usually on social media, on games like streaming content creation, YouTube videos and the like, you can leave messages for the person who creates the content. And when they have the opportunity to, they can look at it, maybe leave you a message. With Discord, it allows you to have a much more personal relationship with the content creator. Obviously, of course, they're not going to be able to. It's just like being in a chat room. If there's thousands of messages, you might not actually get exactly message, and it depends on how much the person is doing. But it does allow for seeing a lot of that in real time all in one hub instead of the content creator having to go to their YouTube channel or scrolling back through hours and hours of chat on their Twitch or anything like that. They can have all of their targeted audience, the people who they want to help and inspire and really kind of communicate with. It puts in a place where all of those things can be done in one spot, and it makes it a whole lot easier for the content creator to really see what their fan base is looking for from them and from their future content.
Okay, and so you kind of answered my next question with that. When it comes from the perspective of I'm a content creator, which you are, you're a streamer. When it comes to that content creator perspective, I'm new to this. Why do I need to create a Discord that I'm the leader of?
It is important to have a community like that, especially when you're getting larger, because it does put all of your different forms. If you're a successful content creator, you're probably not just going to be on one platform. You're going to be across the spectrum. You're going to be on TikTok. You're going to be on Facebook. You're going to be on Twitch. You're going to be on Twitter. You're going to be on all these different places. And those are great for like getting what you make out. Discord is a way for the people who you impact to get information back to you, which of course helps you target. If you see a lot of people sharing clips of, say, you did a really great game on Call of Duty Cold War, which is the big thing in season right now for the Call of Duty shooter franchise, Warzone, Cold War, all that. If you see them sharing a lot of those over the Discord, things they like, then it lets you know that maybe your fan base wants you to play more of those. If they're sharing more of like your groups with friends on Among Us or uh, Destiny, games like that, then that helps you know what's probably going to get more views in your channel, which of course leads to better revenue and better ad revenue from people tuning into your streams because that's what's keeping their attention. That's what they're looking to you for. So having a Discord for you is good because it lets you connect, but it even is just as important if you're starting off to at least get involved in a Discord, even if it's not just yours, but to be involved in a community because you can help network. And that networking is really what's going to help share views across the board. And then when you're big enough and you're ready, then you definitely want to have a community that's under your watch.
Right. Okay. That's awesome. And I think we'll touch base on that a little bit later, this cyclical thought of where people move from one content creation platform around to the others and how that creates a nice realm of connection with your viewership, and how Discord is a huge part of that in my opinion. So I want to shift gears, and I want to, now that we've talked about what Discord is, I want to talk about our Discord. I want to talk about our community, how it's evolved, where it's been, why it is the way it is today. What was our roles specifically in that, and how does that play into where we are today in January of 2021? What does that look like as of today? So I want to kind of jump in this and go through like kind of the beginning and talk about as the owner. Was it created? What were the motivations for it? So I want to go from my position, and then I want to you go from your position. Bern, I want you to come from that as a member when I invited you to the server and you came in. What was that perspective? So if you don't mind, I'll go first and then I'll let you jump in. I'm not going to take too long with it. So the birth of this Discord actually was not from the perspective of the darkness. The darkness was kind of a monocle that came moniker. What is it called? What is it? Monocle.
I believe moniker.
Moniker is something like that. Guys, roast me in the comments if you can. But anyway, so it's the name that came from my kind of my catchphrase, but it was created after the server was made. So my little kind of sign off phrase is "Welcome to the darkness," and when that became part of our refocus, which we'll cover on in a moment, that was where we rebranded the Discord, and we'll talk about why that was important. But when we first started it, it was just Darkened Cyrus, and it started off kind of as a fan club for content for me in a perspective, because it was kind of a need. So if you haven't been or haven't listened to any other podcasts or haven't looked at any of my content, then you're missing the background from me. So I'm actually a high school music educator, and one of the things that we were doing a couple of years ago was actually creating an esports team. And that esports team kind of, for whatever reason that's above my creation, just dissolved, and it created this vacuum, this need for something, these people who needed to connect in a way. So I made this Discord and invited all of those students who needed to have a place to connect on a kind of a competitive level, but just on a place where they knew that they had like-minded people in that school, because there was never that kind of connection. There were friendships made and connections that you'd never seen before. And so that was that way all the way through the beginning part of my content creation, from my first YouTube videos in the end of 2019 through the beginning of 2020, talking about, playing video games with each other and connecting on a deep level. That was the Darkened Cyrus Discord. And there were so many things that went with that and kind of started that. I asked a member who was actually a student to be my original community leader, and that person led the server to a decent amount of growth of young students. And was that the greatest growth for me as a content creator? Not necessarily, but it was a community nonetheless of people who enjoyed playing together, maybe not supported the content all of the time, but were there to be a part of my community that was early on. And so that was the motivation of building that server. And then the change to it being the darkness we'll cover after Burn talks about as a member, which happened during this process. But one of the things that was really important as a motivation was trying to get a community. That was the whole purpose, was to build a community, and that was my goal. So, Burn, if you want to take that, your first moments, what was the joining of at the time Darkened Cyrus? What was that position? How did that happen? Where did you go before we get into kind of this refocusing that we had done?
Yeah. So at the point where Cyrus invited me into the Dark and Cyrus Discord channel, I had primarily played first person shooters. I had just really kind of started in earnest. I had streamed from bit to bit from my Xbox, more of just sharing things that I had found Easter eggs in Call of Duty Zombies, the occasional Destiny like secrets I'd find and whatnot, and with friends. And it was never really a thing where I was trying to create content. It was more of just creating snippets, or if someone was stuck, playing through that game, through that section, and just broadcasting so a friend who was stuck could see. I had been friends with Cyrus for years, and he was really starting to catch fire, starting to really kind of build up. He was doing the content creation to kind of help boost confidence in students who really were looking to have someone who wasn't telling them, hey, gaming's for kids kind of stuff. It was they needed a community to really talk. And like he said, it was about building up an esports team and really kind of getting that started. I was a primary first person shooter player. I played a lot of those tactical competitive games. And Cyrus asked me to join in and said, hey, we got a bunch of good people, a bunch of good kids who are really excited about getting involved in this digital world. And we want to, yeah, from his point of view, he wanted to start them off right. He wanted to give them a community around them that of like-minded and like-age students who they could really build connections with, but also have people in who could help them see past, when you first start or when you're at a certain age group, there's a very different styles of play. And he was like, hey, you play a lot of these ones and you could really be a help. I'd like for you to join in. And I was like, sure. I wanted to support my friend who was taking off with this, who was building this. I was like, that's perfectly fine. I'm glad to do whatever I can to help. I don't know how much help I'm going to be, but I'm going to do what I can. And I joined in, and I was a little bit lost at first. I am a little bit in a different age bracket than some of the people that were in there.
Just a
Uh,
little bit, right?
just a little bit. But that's the wonderful thing about gaming. Gaming is this great unifier that doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your disabilities, your race, your religion. And gaming is this space where what you bring to the table is your skills, your reaction, your mythology, methodology, things like that. So it's a great place to build these kind of relationships that can build really true friendships based on who you are, not the mask you wear kind of thing. That's what I think is really appealing to gaming. And building this community for these kids was a great thing to really kind of, you know, it's hard to get confidence in something like that, when you really want to do it and you're not having a whole lot of things that are supportive, gaming is a very, very cutthroat. It is a take no prisoners division, and it sounds really, really negative, but the truth is that it's everyone in gaming has this sink or swim mentality. So that's when it's so great to have someone who's like, hey, I'm not going to cutthroat you. I'm going to help you up. I'm going to stick a hand out. So that just thrilled me that I was given the opportunity to kind of join in this community. And I joined in, and I realized real fast that I was in such a hurry to help that I really didn't know a whole lot about what I was offering to help with, because I myself did not do the esports thing. Like, I played for fun. I played, the quick matches and things like that. But I was still ready to do whatever I could to help. And, sometimes it just takes someone looking at, when you have some of these guys come in and they're like, hey, I think I did something really cool. Sometimes it's just enough to be able to look at them and be like, dude, that was cool. That was really, really good. And you should keep doing that. But, on the other side, you got jumped from the left or you got jumped from the right. Next time, maybe check that side before you go, and then you can do the really cool thing and not get killed. And but that's
Right.
that's where it was really good. So I came in knowing that, I wasn't probably going to be playing with a whole lot of these guys at first, but like any other gaming, you're looking for people to game with. I was looking for a good social space, and that's what Cyrus was offering, with a great place to come and build networking and actually try to, be helpful, which is just a great place to have people who want to help. And that's what he was conveying to me, was what he was trying to get in, was to be helpful to these individuals. And that was what appealed to me about what he was planning with this at the time. It wasn't about, look at me, I'm awesome, this is my channel. It was, hey, we're here for you.
Awesome. And I think that you summed that up really well. Was that when I originally reached out to you was in the middle of esports, when we had first started, and I had said, like, I would love for you, as a person who's very well spoken, very well analytical, to help me as best you can. And even then, when I had these 50 kids trying to do esports, even though it dissolved, you were like, you know what? I want to jump in and help this guy. And I remember that selfless mode of saying, yeah, I think that would be fantastic to do so. And I just want to say, I remember that, and I always reflect on that when I'm thinking of when somebody asks me for help. I think of that, and I want to thank you for that, because that really taught me a lesson, and it was awesome to see that.
Oh, as I've stated before, like, it is so great to be part of something that uplifts rather than just, boost yourself. The idea of being a part of something that doesn't just make you better, but that actually looks at somebody else and says, yeah, you know what? You don't have it right now, but I'm not going to knock you down for that. You're on the right track. Let me help you find the path. That's a wonderful experience to be part of a community like that.
All right, so as a change, you took us to this point. We were still Dark and Cyrus Gaming, and now we're talking about the moment that I reached out to you. It had to be right at the end of the school year of 2020-ish. Is that right? 2020, right? That would be right. It was
Yeah,
last
right
year.
around, yeah.
Okay, so it was right at the end of the school year, probably around Mayish, Juneish, and I called out to you and I said, I need help. I know that you are the person who is the most organized, the most analytical. I need to shift my community from this esports model, which was toxic at the time and not really benefiting the content that I was creating, because I think I was doing gaming videos still at this time. I wasn't necessarily doing kind of streamer help guides. And it wasn't technically benefiting the content I had. And I pulled you one and I said, look, I want this Discord to be a community, not a fan club. And I wanted it to be shaped around the fact that everyone has a stake. Sure, my name would be at the top of the online list, but that meant nothing to me if no one was below it. And I wanted you to kind of refocus, reshift, rebrand all of this. And this is where the title of the Darkness came from. So instead of the server being self-titled about me, it became about you. And when I mean you guys as the community. And I wanted it to build on that aspect of, you are the people who needed to be kind of benefiting each other, Because in this grand scheme, Afterburn85 was streaming at this time. I was streaming. I think I did make the change to Twitch at this point. And so many other people were kind of following suit. This was about the time that Mixer was about to take the big dump. And, there were so many things that we were doing, and I wanted people to have as good of an opportunity as they could at, at reaching their dream, being a content creator, streaming at home, whatever that looked like for them. And so I shifted everything, my content, this Discord, the way I handle social media, the way I spoke to people, to make sure that this community was connected as much as possible. But none of that, period, was possible without you. And when I reflect on that, my growth, sure, a lot of it I make content, but this community and this Discord would not be in its location today without Afterburn85 shifting and helping and motivating, keeping me on track, being that voice of reason. And so I want to talk about that, why that was so important that we made that change. What were those changes that we made? And how did that go? I remember reaching out to you and kind of having this conversation and pulling you to, I think, a voice chat and talking to you about it. I want, from your perspective, what was that like when I asked you to take on this role?
Oh, I remember that was one of those really late nights. I think both of us stayed up way later than we intended originally. Um,
Which was
that was
often.
you were starting. Yeah, yeah. It did become kind of a habit, which is a good habit. It was a good thing. It's not like staying up all night and clocking in extra hours at work and you hate being there just because your boss wanted to start his weekend early. It was actually this fun thing where we lost track of time because we became so absorbed in seeing something that could really make things better for so many people, and that motivated both of us. We're both very helping out our neighbor mindset person. So it was great to have those late nights trying to figure that out. You had just started making an idea of making your content going towards actually helping people improve the quality of streams. I think you had done like your first or second video that wasn't gameplay related. It was actually about like boosting your sound quality and things like that. And it was not something that I was used to thinking of. That was not when I usually think content creator. Obviously, you have those big names like Linus Tech and all those who do those things, and those are big hits. But they always talk about like the stuff. What you were doing was actually saying, here's the program and here's what it does, and here's the tech and here's what it does. But that's all tools. So I'm going to show you how you can make the best of it, and therefore actually improve yourself, which improving yourself automatically elevates everything else attached to it because the tools only do what they're supposed to do. I want to elevate you. And that was a very interesting concept when you were doing that. And you came to me and you're like, hey, this esports thing, it's not really working. We were starting to have we weren't having like fights breaking out, but it was, as he said, it was starting to become a little bit more toxic. It was starting to you had that negative annotation about what gaming is, and people don't realize it's out of 1,000 people, it's 4 or 5 people, but those 4 or 5 people are the loudest in the room. So it's what gets all the attention, and we still had a wonderful community, tons of people already who didn't always talk, but they were always reading, and we knew because Cyrus was getting messages from people like, hey, you said this or you did this. How did you do this? I saw this change in your stream on Twitch from before. You changed this thing. How did you do that? And then you start talking about doing a video to show people how do you change this? How do you make your setup better? And you're like, I kind of want to I kind of want to change the Discord into that. Like, how can we be more uplifting and maybe not necessarily focus on something that's going to start fights and more just to focus on things that'll start more conversations. And that was just a really great moment because, you know, I want people to be better. I want if I can help somebody find a better path, a better way to do something, then if they succeed, to me, that's a win. I don't have to win myself if someone else wins about improving themselves. I think when everyone improves themselves, everyone around them wins because it just gets elevated above everything else. So you brought me in and you were like, "Hey, we're going to change focus." And I really want you to help me, guide down that river a little bit because it's going to be rocky because people are expecting one thing and we're going to kind of pivot on them a little bit. And that was a lot of fun to sit up with you all that night and the next couple nights after that and really kind of talk, how are we going to not shell shock everybody from just changing it, but at the same time let people know that this isn't because we don't think this is working, it's because we could do so much more. It's not that something is failing, it's the fact that we can have so much more success with this along with everything else. So, you know, that was really great actually joining the leadership team at that point and being brought in, because after talking with you that night and saying like, "Hey, I I see a chance to make people better and to actually really enjoy what they're doing." Because the biggest 90% of the time when we see frustrations with people, it's not about what something is going wrong. It's about the fact that not everything comes with the greatest of instructions. Some of these programs that go out there, they dump the program on you and they're like, push the button and find out what happens. And no one ever, sometimes it's just a matter of someone telling you, hey, look, you just do this, set it to this, and the quality will be better.
Right.
And people don't really do that. They don't take the time to do that. They don't really, everybody's more focused about how can I make this better for me? And you're just going to have to figure it out because that's what I did. And that's not the community you wanted to build. That's not the community that it sounds bad because it sounds like I'm saying it, but you sold me on rebuilding and refocusing this community. But, it wasn't a hard sell because it's what I wanted to do as well. But that was the thing, is that you were so inspired to do this great thing to help everyone around you that it's easy to want to join on to that. So I was just like, when you offered that to me, I was like, hey, this is awesome. Like, yeah, I'll do what I can for this. Like, yeah, whatever you need me to do, I am more than happy to help with this, because this is something that I think we can be proud of building. Like, it's easy to build something that gets you a lot of hype. It's more fulfilling to build something that is just something that you look back and you smile on. So it didn't matter how long you were involved in it, you knew it made other people better. It made everyone's experiences better. And that's a really fun thing, and a really, like, it's a joy that you get not from seeing something funny, but from really feeling it in your heart.
Right. I really like how you said that. The joy of kind of improving others. I think I was trying to do two different things. I was living in this world of every single day I would go to school and I would teach and try to better the lives of my students. I'm a music teacher, so I share in the experience of music all the time, which can be an emotional moment. But in those experiences, all of that in the day, and then I come home, and then I was in this kind of a toxic community of very competitive, driven individuals who wanted to be better, which is fantastic. And if you're into esports, that is wonderful, and I support you. We still have a place in our community for you. But I was in a place where I needed that shift. I wanted to connect my two worlds. How can I teach and give people the tools to do the things that I'm enjoying doing, which is to reach out? And so I was really happy to reach out and for you to share that vision. I was really excited about that. And so from that moment, I think we added a whole bunch of channels, deleted a whole bunch of channels, kind of decided on what our goals were, and then how we slowly implemented them. Some of them to be kind of tedious. Maybe it was a position that needed to be removed, or a person, and to just be very cautious on how we did things, because the next part we're going to talk about is kind of challenges and changes that we made, and some of the things that we saw over time, just from our perspective, and how you can reflect on that if you're wanting to do your own Discord, how these might reflect on your position. And regardless of whether you've heard us say what we went through, you're going to have your own challenges. So I think immediately making that shift for me, seeing my community, the little community that I had, in comparison to what I have now. Back then, that community was everything, and this community still is everything. But I put so much focus on 4 or 5 people, kind of like what you were saying, those loud people, and I didn't focus on the overall group, and I wanted to shift that. And so we kind of had to phase out these kind of specified channels, these specific things, so that we could start trying to engage the entire community. So what I want you to do is, from your perspective, what was the first big hurdle that we had to cross to get from where we were to where we ended up when you were during your time as community leader? What was the first big hurdle to get us there?
Well, I remember the it's not the right word, but I don't know the right word for it. But I will say that taking over as community leader, that's something. If you're building a community, if you don't have a community leader, you are the community leader, so you're leading everything that's going on. All the decisions are on you. And if you do elevated someone to a community leader position, there is that feeling of, even if it's not like a bad thing, but there is that little bit of dread about, especially if there's other people in a leadership team position, or even the person who puts you in place of that. There's a lot of responsibility with building something like that. This is someone's baby that they're asking you to guard and to improve. And that was the first challenge, was that first day coming in under that title of community leader. Um, because you don't know how some people are going to react. Some people are going to think, oh, well, here's this guy that's, yeah, he's in and he's kind of like the person in charge. And, does he really know what we want, kind of thing? And that's what you're worried about. But to Cyrus's credit, and to the credit of the entire Darkness leadership team, those guys and girls were awesome coming in the first day. That the handful of people who had stepped up before we decided to refocus and really kind of put this whole server into a more improve of thyself versus improvement of thy aim mentality. And they were on board. That was so great to do that. So I mean, really, a big thing you need to remember with building a community is the people who are in there helping you make decisions, who are building it, who they are is just as much as important as the person at the top, because they can cause so much expansion on such a great level so quickly, or they can actually be the roadblock that's holding you back. And we were very, very fortunate with that. We had a lot of great people who were really truly interested in helping people be better, and that was an absolute blessing to have guys who were willing to jump on right out the bat, and they were just like, let's go, let's get. I mean, it was like the esports of personal self improvement. It was just a great group of people. So that was the first challenge for me, was coming in there wondering, are these guys going to question why I'm the community leader now, when I don't go to school with them. I don't do, I'm not on all the games they're on. But they took it in stride, and it was just so great. They were so welcoming with that, and they were so great for that. And then the next challenge about that after it was basically everybody logging into Discord that first day after we did the rebuild, because you did the changes pretty late at night, and not a lot of people actually got to see the changes until the next
That's right.
morning.
That's right.
And everybody, basically, it was like the equivalent of coming to your digital home and finding out you got turned into a construction site. There were walls gone. There was a mess all over the place. There
Yeah.
was new rooms that you did not know anything about. There was a refrigerator. You don't even know where that came from. So you're just like, you're sitting there, and I remember the first time typing that up and introducing myself as a community leader. Cyrus had made an announcement page, and it put on the announcements, hey, here's Afterburn85. He is the new community leader, and this is what we're refocusing on. He gave a pretty good synopsis about the fact that we were shifting from esports to self-improvement, and really kind of trying to improve the quality of the gamers in our circle, um, just to be better people and better gamers. There's so much toxicity. It's so easy to fall into that. And it takes a real lot of personal strength to really stay a good sport in a medium that is so dominated in every news article you read about it, or everything about how much jerks people are in this. But the truth is, we know that 99% of us are wonderful individuals who just want a game. It's
So
it's
true.
that person that acts like an idiot gets all the news articles and everything. So you know it, it's an image issue over reality, and that's what we were fighting against. But once again, you put that in there, and we actually made. I remember that was my first thing. I'm going to levitate this with jokes, and I was just like, sorry about the mess. We're knocking down a few walls. We're putting in a few new rooms. Just
Yeah.
watch your step. And it didn't work out all at first. Some of the rooms we put in, they didn't stick around because we just didn't have enough interest in it. And you have to remember this whole thing. If you're going to be building your own Discord community, there is a payoff to not putting in 700 rooms. Sometimes too many rooms is a little bit confusing. People don't really know where to go. And I remember
Yeah.
Cy and I
That's so
having that
true.
discussion many, many times about, like, do we need this room? Do we really need this? Do we really need that? And then we like think that we have that under control, and somebody would be like, hey, we need a this room or that room, and we're like, that wasn't even where did this come from?
Yeah.
So so you just have to watch out for that. There is a balance to it, and it's really getting to know your community, what they need, because that's, at the end of the day, that's what you're providing with your Discord, is a place for people to share ideas. And unless you just want everything spammed in the general chat, you need to give them a place to do that, because at the end of the day, that's what you're providing, is a place to share those ideas and those feelings and really kind of help people express themselves.
Yeah, so true. And while you're saying this, I immediately went up to, and we'll cover this in a moment, our weekly newsletter called The Whispers. And I literally scrolled to the very first post, which was June the 3rd, and this is no lie what you had put. And you introduced yourself, but you said the Darkness Discord has went through a bit of a metamorphosis. We had to kick everyone back to the front door so we could knock down some walls, throw up some new ones, slap on a coat of paint, and get this center of social gaming up to a level that you feel our wonderful members of Darkness deserve. And it was kind of that moment. And then in my introduction even says in here, like, I'm going to be changing my content to helpful streaming videos for a month. And now we're like, 7 months later and I'm still making these videos. This idea of shifting and making that was such a huge moment, but I knew that I had chose the right person. And because the moment that you jumped on, you said yes, and you had these wonderful ideas, everyone did accept you and everyone was respecting you prior to that. And I think it was even summed up in the title that I had gave you, that I didn't even ask you about. I just gave it to you. And I think you really fit that role very early on, and then throughout the entire tenure of your lead as community leader was Afterburn the Wise. You knew what to say, when to say it, how to calmly say it, and to come across to the community in a positive way, that it was so beneficial to me in those early days to see how to do it. When I'm telling you, Burn, you should have been a content creator long before I was a content creator, because you had the eloquent speech and the way of dealing with people. It was just wonderful, and I was just really inspired by that. And so I want to kind of take that, and let's move into some of the challenges that we hit, because we made big changes. We made places to go.
Oh
We
yeah.
put in a weekly newsletter called our Whispers. It's at the top of our Discord. We added some channels that were very specific to the community. And then we've recently added even more, but we had some challenges. Every time you grow, you have growing pains. And so when you think of challenges, I don't want to limit you on what you want to talk about, but I kind of want to have a conversation back and forth. What were those challenges from the community, from a mod team, from what perspective that you hit that really taught us how to do what we were trying to do?
Well, I know one of the first things that I remember in having a conversation with you, and that's another thing that was so awesome, was, you not just were questioning for it because you were asking because you want somebody to do the lifting. You were looking for someone to really partner with you and really kind of help build this, not because you were looking for somebody to build it for you, but you were looking for someone who is going to, actually stand side by side with you and really do it. And that was awesome, to have someone who's working with you, not thinking of it as, I'm the boss, get this done for me, but let's work together and let's really build something special. And I remember one of the first things I said to you about that was, I have no problem doing this. This sounds amazing. I'm really looking forward to this. But I remember the first thing I said to you is, I'm not going to treat this like a pastime. This isn't just a for fun thing. And I remember you know, just kind of being quiet there for a second. I said, if you're going to have me put in as a community leader with this, I'm going to treat it like a business. So I want to be able to I want updates from our leadership team weekly about what we're doing, where they're at, what are we doing. I want people to actually talk with us about it. I'm going to treat this thing like a business. And you were just like right there, like, no, that sounds great. Let's do
Yeah.
that. Let's be professional. Let's not, it's not that there was anything wrong with the way the previous community leader at the time was doing things. They were doing it. They were building a community their way, and that was wonderful that they built it their way with you, and they were as helpful as they were. And that was the difference in me, is I was looking at it as you're building your stream and your content creation like a business. I'm going to treat your Discord like a business.
Right.
And so, and you were so supportive of that. So I came in that first time after redoing that, and I was like, "Hey guys, this is what we're going to do." Cyrus introduced me as the new community leader. That initial fear of, all right, let's see who's going to like
Completely crap
challenge
on
for
your.
alpha. Like I was like, all right, let's see let's see which dog thinks they're gonna challenge for alpha right out the bat. And
I
then that
love
didn't
it.
happen. It was like, no, let's give this guy a shot. Let's see, because everybody waited to see what I wanted to do with that position first, and that was really nice that nobody was just like, well, he doesn't deserve it, or what has he done? It was more of like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And I
Mm,
laid out my plan. I'm like, okay, so here's what we're gonna do, guys. I want to do a meeting with y'all every month. It's not a it's not a this is not a job. We're doing this because we're passionate about this. And that was the really cool thing, is having some people who are so passionate
yeah,
about it. And that's, you
definitely.
cannot build a community without passionate people in the front, because if you're just looking for the paycheck, then you're not going to get that from people who are starting off.
Yeah.
You need that passion. And we had so many, even people, for those of you who are listening who are part of our community who were not on the leadership team, your passion did not escape from Cyrus's view
No.
or from any of the leadership team. We saw so much passion. The problem was is that we could not have every single one of you as mods.
Yes.
So believe it or not, we see each and every one of your passion, and that's so awesome. We love promoting and helping out everything you do. So for those of you tuning in who are like, well, I don't think they notice me, believe me, we notice you. There's a lot of talking between Cyrus and me and a lot of the guys in the back that we see you do things that are amazing, and that motivated us to make sure you had the tools, the rooms, the chat space, the picture space, the highlight space, everything you needed to show how awesome you were, motivated us to give that to you. And that was what was so great, was we weren't doing it to make ourselves better. We were doing it to make everyone better.
Yeah, and I
And it
think
was all of your passion. Go
when
ahead.
you came in with that perspective and you said to me, we need to treat this like a business. I think from my perspective, being that content creator, I wasn't treating it like a business, more as like a, not to sound stupid, but like I had no clue what I was doing. Let's be 100%. I had no clue what I was doing. I wanted to make sure that the content I put out reached people. Like, I have a goal for what I want to do. Like, I had all of these things, but I wasn't at the point of this is what it's going to be. And I think when you came in and you said, I want it to be like a business, and that was in that discussion. That was those words that he said. I want it to be treated like a business. And he came in every Monday. We have a weekly meeting as a mods. Whoever our leader is posts that weekly meeting, what we're going to be doing, and that's kind of evolved over time. But early on, it was literally, here's what's to accomplish this week, here's what's to do, before we got everyone on the mindset of treating it like not a job, because that's a horrible way of saying it, but to see it from a business perspective. If you're going to be a mod, you're going to be seen from that perspective of someone who is in leadership. So you need to have that accountability. So, and we shifted that and we talked about what is our weekly ritual. We're going to have a weekly newsletter up every Wednesday. Cyrus is going to keep a weekly streaming schedule. He's going to try to keep a weekly content schedule. And I think that really put me on a position where every week you were always asking, or I was always offering, what's the next thing you're wanting to plug? And that kept me honest on trying to keep my content every week, which didn't happen because of life. And I still don't post every single week because some things just happen. But it really motivated me as a creator, as the person who's supposed to be like leading this Discord, to see someone so competent in what they were doing come in and give it their all. It really shifted something. So from that owner perspective, you need to find someone, after you get some traction, who you can partner with. Either someone who is a smarter, more organized, more business oriented, more whatever your opposite is. Because I'm very much in the moment, procrastinate, get it done when I need to get it done, enjoy the in the moment thing, and that's not Afterburn. And it really balanced who I was, and I really enjoyed that early on. So later, after we started going on, growing pains. What's some next challenges? What's something else that hit?
I won't get into the specifics of it, but this is going to happen to everyone who's building a community. And if you are one of the people that this happens to be covering around you, I'm not gonna be disrespectful about it. But sometimes people will be put into positions with you, and don't get me wrong, I had no question about these people's passions whatsoever. Many of these members, I still have a lot of respect for. I still deeply care about, want to see them succeed. But you're gonna have people who don't think before they act, or they do something that negatively puts themselves in light. And part of the problem with that is that when you are in a leadership position, or you are somebody that people are supposed to be able to ask questions to, when you do something like that, whether what you did was intended to shine negative light on your community or not, it does. And the hardest part, it was such a debate between Cyrus and myself, and even many of the leadership team, because Cyrus made a very important call early on. And this is something I think every content creator who's going to build a community needs to decide early on, and Cyrus did. Um, you need to decide if you're going to make all the decisions because it is your channel and your lead, which is a completely valid way to run it. It's completely valid. It's your stuff. Cyrus has done a wonderful job of making sure that his leadership team understands that he wants them to feel a personal stake in this. So he has asked their opinion. He has taken the leadership team's opinions very, very seriously, and takes everything that they bring to light to heart and really thinks over it. There's never a moment where somebody asks something and he just goes, no. Some people feel that way. We've had people who have said, well, I don't think you're taking this seriously. And I'm sitting there like, believe me, he took it seriously. We had a long talk about this in the background where you didn't see, but he's taking it very seriously. You just don't know that because he's giving you the final decision on it. And same thing with me. There's sometimes where Cyrus even agreed with somebody, but I thought for the betterment of the community, as a community leader, that I didn't think this was going to provide enough of a boost to be worth distracting people from other things. So it's not every decision that went negatively towards the person who brought something forward was all Cyrus's fault. Not all it was my fault that it didn't go through. And sometimes people disagreed with something and we pushed it through because we thought it was better for the community. Some of those panned out, some of them didn't. That's just the way it goes. Um, but that's not out of a disrespect towards anybody. But what started this whole conversation is, you're going to run into a situation, no matter how good of people you put in, no matter how passionate are, no matter how much of a wonderful person they are. Sometimes people do things or say things or act a certain way that shines a negative light on your community, and you cannot afford to make people not feel safe or not feel like it's a good place to be when you, especially when you're building a community that's all about self-betterment. Making people feel bad or feeling negative is, it's a very slippery slope, because the smallest crack brings the entire dam down. So we have had to remove people from the leadership team for one reason or another. Not all of it is, you know, a nuclear blast. Sometimes it's something that won't let go. Sometimes it's something said out of anger that we know they didn't mean, or they took something and interpreted it a way that was never the intended way of doing it. But they had, for the betterment of the entire community, they had to be removed from the leadership team. Now, the great thing about that is that very early on we said it's not about being gone for forever, but you are going to have to earn that trust back and show the community you are working towards the betterment of the entire community. And that's a wonderful way to do it, because it gives people a chance at redemption. Redemption is something that should never just be denied. And that was wonderful that Cyrus has always had that mentality with the darkness community, that people can always be better. You just need to give them a chance to. And I
Right.
love that about our community.
Yeah, I think that kind of led itself to today's kind of setup and situation. Yeah, we've had our bumps, and I think some of it has to do with just misunderstandings with where we are, what we're doing, or maybe it's a misunderstanding about content. Regardless of what it is, this community, regardless of what your title is, like my title right now is senpai. Regardless of what your title is on the server, we are all gamers. We are all people. We are all streamers. Well, not all of us, but most of the people who are a part of the community are reflective of that in some way based upon what the community is. And when we make a situation where it's not in a positive light for us to build and grow, yeah, I think that's not very reflective of what you would consider on kind of a leadership perspective. However, in recent months, we've added a leveling system that so anyone in the Discord, regardless of whether I've approved of it or whatever the case, it has nothing to do with me. The server is a group of people, like-minded people. I just happen to have hit create server, and we put in this leveling system that allows people to by typing and getting in voice chats to level themselves up to a point where they can request to be put onto what we call a champion role, which allows them to get access to some moderator channels and to see some of that, and then after some time apply to become a mod and to get to that point. And so there's this opportunity for people to become a part of that leadership team based upon their engagement. And I think having that say of someone, having a stake in something, like you said earlier, I do offer all of the decisions, or at least as many of them as I can, go through a vote, because I think that's important, because everyone's involved in it in some form or fashion. It's important for everyone to have an opportunity, because it's a community server. It's not a Cyrus server. It's a community server. And, to have that opportunity for someone to join the Discord today and over a certain amount of time be able to join the moderator team and be on a leadership position, I think that's important, because what that says to your community is you're not unreachable in a position of being able to help in a way. And there are people who were on the mod team, and you can speak to this if you want, who were on the mod team or the leadership team who are not, who are now reapplying or who have reapplied and are in that position. And, those discussions now can be open. And we have people who have reached that level who have said, I don't necessarily want to be on the leadership team, but I enjoy where I am. And so if you want to speak to that, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for everybody else, but I can actually speak for myself with that. I actually just recently got myself up to the level, got back to champion. For those of you who do join into the Darkness Discord server after listening to this podcast, I severely implore you to. We have a wonderful community, as we've stated so many times, that are just looking to really meet great people. But you'll notice if you see on there, if you see my name, I'm no longer in the mod team or the community leader team. I had some personal issues happen. I had to walk away. That was a very difficult choice I made. Cyrus was extremely understanding, but I had some things going on personally that I could not devote the time that I felt as a community leader, the people that we interacted with every day, so many wonderful content creators and just gamers looking for a wholesome and good community to come to. The leadership team, it's I've been part of several communities. Um, Honestly, a lot of them I've been part of. I muted because unless I was actually talking to the one specific person who brought me in, I really didn't think too much of it. And that's not anything negative towards them, but a lot of communities about this are all centered around the person who is the big name in the group. It's about the biggest fish in the room. The Darkness community server has actually been more about there are no big fish. It's everybody in the pond gets their own lily pad. So, um, I had to step away because there's so much passion and so many great individuals that for me to be community leader and not be putting in the time, I I came home from work every day and sometimes even on break at work, and I went through every channel and looked at what was going on. And that wasn't something that was asked of me. That was something that I was asked to be the community leader. And there were so many great people that I was personally motivated and inspired to put that level of it like it was a full paying job into it, because I personally and still to this day feel that every member of our community deserves to have someone on the wheel, because they bring so much to the table that they deserve no less than to make sure that the ship is staying on the river. So when I felt that I personally could not provide that, then I came to Cyrus and I said, look, it is nothing personal. It is nothing anyone has done. I have some things going on in my life I have to take care of. I cannot ignore those. And Cyrus, you were so supportive, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciated how supportive you were of that.
Yeah, no
I
doubt,
know
man.
that wasn't That wasn't the bombshell. I know you wanted to get that message. I didn't want to have to send that message, but what we built, and what everybody on that team built out of this, it was truly an amazing and inspiring thing to be part of that. It wasn't something that any one person built. Every person from you at the top to the individual members that came in with their passions and the things they knew and the things they could help others with. You never know what somebody is an expert of until somebody asks a question. You're looking around the room and you're like, we've never heard of that before. Who knows about? And then suddenly some name you've never really paid that much attention to, um, not because they're not, important or anything, but just because they haven't really had a reason to speak up and offer some. Suddenly they have the answer, and you realize we have somebody that knows something about anything in this community, and the level of knowledge is growing every day as new people join in. And that's a wonderful thing, that you can ask a question and someone knows the answer, and they're not just holding on to it. They're willing to share that knowledge, and that's because of how many great people we have. And you know I couldn't call myself a community leader and not be able to give that level to it, because that's what, not only Cyrus as what he was doing, that you were doing, was inspiring that, but just every member. Like I said, our community inspired me to put that much work into it because they deserved it. And I had to walk away. I had to drop out of that, and we decided early on. It was one of those things where I said, we're treating this like a business, and Cy was so supportive of it. And it was like, if you have to leave out, you can't just drop down to a regular level. You go back outside and you work your way back in. And that was just to make sure it stayed fair. Like if you had to walk away from it, that was perfectly fine. And you weren't out the door permanently, but you had to prove the team that you were willing to put that passion in again, because that's what our community deserved. And I remember telling you that I wish I could just drop back a step, but that you, our leadership team who had put so much work into it, and our community deserved better than to have someone bend the rules because of something like that. And that was so great, because I did not. It helps you understand just how much that community means to you when you're willing to put that aside for something, and you're like, this hurts. This mentally hurts to make this decision, because that's how much these people mean to you.
And I think you're recollecting that day, when you sent that message. I'm not going to go into much of the details. I think you actually wanted to discuss it in another podcast with Armin Jace. But what I will say is, when I read that, my concern and my feeling was, regardless of how I felt about anything, superseded the fact that this is what you needed, and regardless of how I needed you, or I felt at the time that you were the person who was riding this ship. It meant absolutely nothing when you needed something. That if I could provide that, that's what I could. And if that meant obviously completely allowing you to do that, and not allowing, but that's the wrong way of saying that, but not making you feel guilty for making that decision, then I was going to do that, because at that point it didn't matter what I needed. It mattered what you needed. And I think that was all I was focusing on, was what can I do to make it better for you. And so, in that tenure that you had, I think it was probably, 4 or 5 months that you were there, you took, like you said, as much business preparation as possible that you could, and turned this Discord server into such a fantastic community, to where people can come and do what you're doing today. Be a part, grow, get back on this leadership team, to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves, and to allow others to be able to grow. And I'm really excited about where we're going, what we're doing now, and none of this, again, reflecting on what we've talked about this entire podcast, none of this has been possible over these last few months if it wasn't for you coming in and creating that mind shift. And for me, sure, it was me saying, we need to make this change, but you put me on a path that I was not expecting. And YouTube monetization, Twitch affiliate, none of that I really feel would not be possible today if it wasn't for that mindset change that you gave me. So I attribute a lot of my success, little success. If you compare it to someone else, it doesn't matter. The success that I've had I have to attribute it, credit to you. And I really thank you for what you've done. And I'm really excited for what you're going for, being back on Champion, hopefully getting voted back onto the mod team. I'm really excited for what the next few months bring for our server as we continue forward. I kind of want to...
Oh,
Go ahead.
no, I was just saying, like, yeah, that's the thing. That was what you conveyed to me that first day when you asked me to take on as the community lead position, and what we discussed between making it a business and what you wanted out of it. You know, you were very clear off the bat that you wanted somewhere that was uplifting. And that was what, like I said earlier in this discussion, that, you sold me on that idea, but it was such a wonderful idea, and such a wonderful concept of how to focus the community, that it sold itself. But, I'm glad that you thank me for a lot of what you do. To me, it was about making sure when you asked me that spot and you're like, hey, we need to get it going this way. And I told you, well, I'm going to run it like a business. So I am going to annoy you, because when we do those weekly updates, I want to see something new. I don't want to have to put a repeat of last week's on there. So I know there's a lot of times where it'd be getting out of that wire. I'd be like, sorry, you have something? I need something to
Right.
put in here, man. And, and that's the thing. For those of you who are listening because you're interested in building your community, it sounds like I'm harping on Cyrus about this, but the thing is, Cyrus motivated me, not only as a community leader. The things that he wanted to do gave me goals to set for the community, but he was also there every step of the way, helping me improve, just as we were there to help other people. Those people that we were providing the space for were helping me improve my stream. Cyrus was right there to help me. I have done something I want to do for a very long time. I've never done it. I didn't have the motivation to do it because I didn't know what I was doing, and I felt intimidated by it. But I built my first PC, my first gaming PC this year, and that's because of how many passionate members we have, and sharing about, like, oh, you can do this, you can build it, it's easy, you can do it this way, no matter how hard you think it is, we'll help you. We have people in our community, that were like, oh, no, it's okay, if you don't understand, we'll help you. And you've been right there. You helped me build this. Members of our community helped me figure out what we needed to get in this thing. And that was a great thing, because that was the community we were building. And if you're building a community of anything, whether you're doing it even to just focus on your content, if you're going to get a community leader, if you're going to get a partner in there, make sure it's somebody who is, it sounds like harping, but I wanted Cyrus to succeed, not just for the channel, not just because he was my friend, but because that was the goal he set to himself. He said, I want us to be bigger. Bitter is wrong.
To be bitter, guys.
I want
to be bitter.
I want us to be bitter. No, I want us to be bigger. I want us to be better. I want us to not give ourselves any excuse why this didn't work. He didn't allow me to have any excuse why we couldn't get something better for our community. I didn't let him use any excuses why he couldn't get that content out, because I saw it in him how passionate he was to get this information out to people. And he saw that I wanted to build this community. We see the same thing in our leadership team. That was something we went out, we would have conversations just between me and him about how we saw X member of the leadership team was really right there on the edge. Like, you could see there was a passion about something in there, and they were not ready to pull the trigger on it yet, but we would egg them a little bit. And it wasn't about pushing them into something they were uncomfortable. It was about the fact that we knew they wanted to do it, but sometimes you need that somebody to push you. And if you're going to build a community, any kind, whether it's for just your content creation, whether it's to build a community like we're doing, to have a bunch of people that uplift each other, whether, have people in there that don't allow you to be lazy. Find people that want to push you, not because they're bullies, but because they want to see you succeed.
That's right, Burn. You were just a big bully, man.
I'm just a big bully. I'm a big old meanie.
No, but I fully agree.
I turn on my Twitch, my eyes turn red.
Oh God, that's true. His theme on Twitch is red, by the way. Just throwing that out there. But I think I agree with you. You need to surround yourself with people who are going to uplift you and to give you motivation on improving yourself. And it's big. I really do think that's the case. I want to think next year, this upcoming year. We're recording this on January 10th, 2021. January 10th, 2022. What does Afterburn85 look like? Where does that? Where do you think our Discord's going to be? But mainly, where are you going to be? What does that look like? Either in your life, in your social media. What does that look like?
I'm the kind of person who I love to set goals. My goal is to obviously, if you're going to do something, go 100%. I am streaming on Twitch now. I would love for January 10th, 2022, 20 too many T's. Anyway, um next year this day, we're just going to go to keep it simple. Yeah, I would love to be in a position where I could supplement enough income that I could put more focus on my streaming. I would love to be in a place where I feel more comfortable. I would love to see a year from now that I am doing like you do and actually being comfortable enough with the editing tech to make YouTube videos. What they'd be on, I don't know yet. I have a lot of interest in the lore aspects of things like Destiny, um, Star Wars, things like that. Those are things that I enjoy, and I think that doing something on the lore of those would be a lot of fun. So maybe something along those lines. Um, Twitch a year from now, it'd be awesome if I had enough subscribers and enough viewers that I could supplement my income, that I could cut back on my day job to do this and actually really spend time with people all around the world. Because that's the greatest part to me as a broadcaster, as a streamer. It's not so much the numbers game. There's a lot of people who are very, very numbers motivated. What I love more than anything is seeing the chat box light up with a name I've never seen before, saying hello, having a conversation, getting to know that even though I can't see that person, that we're both making each other smile. Them by being on my stream, which makes me feel important because they're taking time out of their day to watch what I'm doing. And hopefully, if I'm doing what I'm doing right, that what I say, what I do maybe brings a chuckle, brings them a smile, something that improves their day because they're improving my day by spending some time with me. I hope that at the end of the day, I've improved their day. So being able to continue streaming, that's my goal. That's where I see myself next year, regardless of whatever happens. I'm still going to be going to work, but I'm still going to be trying to put whatever time I can into being out there and helping bring people into this community and really kind of helping them achieve their goals because seeing people succeed makes me happy. Seeing people achieve things, that's if you were going to really say what is my goal for next year, it's to make a person succeed in their goal every day of the upcoming year. I would like to see 365 successes.
That's awesome. That's again a very. I said this early about you, a very selfless goal, and I love that. I love how easy that is for you to say, and I strive to mimic that, to echo that. I would love that. I Burn, we all call you Burn on the server. Burn, I 100% appreciate who you are as a person, who you are to our community, and what you've done not only for our community, but for me. And I think it has been a blessing to reflect on times past and to look for times forward and to see what we can be doing and accomplishing as a group, as a community, as people who are looking to help others. I can't wait for what this next year has in store for us and in store for you guys, the listeners. Also, the people who were in the server, regardless of when you listen to this. Sure, this was done in January, but whenever you listen to this, you are successful at what you do. You are important and you matter. And all you have to do is, if this is your goal, if content creation is your goal, don't hesitate. Just go. Just start. all of the things like a Discord server and getting all of these overlays or setting up how you're going to do this alert, all of this stuff comes with time and with learning. But a community like what we have here can help you do that. So find someone you can lean on who can keep you accountable, ask for help. Don't try to be so, I don't know, not arrogant, but so bullheaded that you forget the fact of that you only get somewhere as a content creator by other people helping you and seeing you by viewing, subscribing, liking, watching. So be in the mindset of asking and talking to those people and asking them, what can I do? So I'm glad that in this journey, Burn, that I could lean on you, and I still do, even not in your situation as community leader now, but I have no problem if I have something I need to ask you for me to reach out and ask you. Something traumatic happened to me earlier this past week, and of anyone like on the server, you called me within like an hour and like of me posting something and asked me if I was okay, and that meant something to me. And I hope that you all can find something that really helps you connect with someone on that level. So Burn, I love you, man. I really appreciate you, and I'm so glad that we got to have this discussion today.
Oh, it was an honor as always to be able to spend time with you and to hopefully have this discussion impact and really help someone make their particular channel as successful as it possibly be. If this helps everybody that this helps on, if you're listening and you join the Darkness Discord server and you say, "Hey, I listened to Afterburn85 and Cyrus's discussion on Discord communities, and I got my Discord community up and running, and y'all really helped me," please let me know, because that's 1 out of 365 I have down.
Love it. Love it. Guys, make sure you go ahead and check the description for this podcast. You're going to see links for Afterburn85, all of his social medias where you can check him out over on Twitch, Twitter, and eventually his YouTube. I'll make sure to update that for if he gets to that point. Guys, as always, thank you so much. Burn, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, as always, thank you for coming by and listening. I'm Cyrus, and welcome to the darkness. We'll catch you next time.